This is NDTV. And you're watching NDTV 24/7.
Good evening, you're watching NDTV with me, Rishika Barwa. Over the course of the next half an hour, we will be taking your questions related to the coronavirus. You can dial in on the number there on your screens. We'll be joined by two expert doctors who will be live with us in the broadcast to take on all your questions as India battles the coronavirus. Now, what we want to focus on is testing. A lot has been said about the need for extensive testing. The World Health Organization has come out and said that 80%, as much as 80% of people affected by the coronavirus could actually be asymptomatic carriers, and therefore it is extremely important that people are tested and quarantined in time in order to be able to prevent the spread of the disease. Joining us on the broadcast is Dr. Asirvatham. He's a professor of diabetology from the Madurai Medical College. Also joining us on the broadcast is Dr. Sunil Mishra. He's the director at the Medanta Division of Endocrinology and Diabetes. Appreciate you, doctors, for being with us on the broadcast today. You know, if I could just begin by asking you the first question. There is a renewed focus, a stress, not just by the World Health Organization, but even by the government in India to focus on extensive testing. We've seen certain states like Kerala, Jharkhand, Delhi now introduce concept of, increased testing with remote testing being made possible, phone booths in Jharkhand being converted, kiosks in Kerala. If I could ask you, Dr. Mishra, to begin with, how important is it for India to test extensively in order to be able to control the spread of the coronavirus?
It's important to test more and more number of the people, right? You test more number of the people, you pick up more people in the early stage of the disease. And as in the early stage of the disease, when the disease is still incubation phase, an asymptomatic person is not actually having any symptoms, so they are spreading the disease. So if you pick up the people in the early stage of the disease, you can quarantine them, you can separate them out from spreading the disease. So that is the strategy adopted by Korea mainly, which tested more rapidly to the people and start isolating and quarantining those people. And that's the reason that Korea was able to contain the disease very early in the phase. But for a country like India, I don't know how long and how far it is possible to test more and more number of the people. But as we are coming across, we are just now I was listening at NDTV that Delhi government has ordered around 1 lakh kits, and by this Friday they will start testing more and more number of the people.
Yes.
To me, more you test, better it is. Yeah.
Right. Dr. Asirvatham, would you agree? Because, in the UK and the US, for example, one has seen the other side of the spectrum, where lockdowns were not enforced, not enforced on time, enough testing wasn't done. And we've seen, the worst spike, so to speak, at the moment in countries like the UK and the US. And you had the other example that Dr. Mishra cited, which is China and South Korea, which have tested extensively and therefore have been more successful in containing the spread of the virus.
Actually, when it is on either side of the spectrum, probably we are in the middle of the spectrum where we do testing for more number of patients, no more number of suspect persons, and with that probably we'll be able to contain it much better. It may not be as less as the Western world, or probably as like an universal screening, which is not possible in a country like ours. So it is important that we should try to identify the group who is more vulnerable and more suspects, and probably utilize our resources in an economical way. And if you catch them early, their ability to spread it to someone else will definitely be curtailed,
right,
thereby reducing the spread.
All right. We have our first two callers, and I'm going to take their questions on directly and then request the doctors to answer it. Saheli and Francis from Kolkata joining us. Saheli, go ahead with your question first, please.
Yeah. Good evening, doctors. I just wanted to know that if this 21 days lockdown does not get extended beyond 21 days, then whether it will be how much it will be safe for us to travel in public transport.
All right. Francis, do you want to ask your question as well from Kolkata?
Yeah. My question is that, see, I've been seeing in your program, this COVID, for the first 8 days, whatever test you do, it comes negative if you go for an antibody test, okay? So basically, when a patient is infected with coronavirus, doctors are saying that you stay at home. Now, we also know that there is no medicine as on date. So just by staying at home, how a person is getting cured?
All right. Let me first get maybe Dr. Mishra to answer the question on what if the lockdown in a hypothetical scenario is lifted after 21 days. The disease hasn't gone anywhere. So is it going to be safe for people to step out, use public transport? I think there's a lot of anxiety surrounding what if and when the lockdown is lifted.
Yeah. So I do agree, because there is a lot of talk about when the lockdown will open, and will it open entirely and everybody will allow to work as usual as they've been doing earlier. I don't think so. There will be a gradual, whenever it will happen. So I'm not that phase, but whenever it will happen gradually, because now the number of cases are increasing in our country,
yes.
Right? So if we have done a lockdown in the early phase, now it will not be prudent to open the lockdown when the number of cases now, say for example, 15,000 or 20,000. So it will be difficult. By that time, if we open, we may see the more number of the patient in a very short period of the time. So the lockdown is a good idea to contain the number of the patient, and many of the patients just have contacted the disease and they were not symptomatic. Right. So it was very difficult. It would have not been possible to pick up them in earlier the course.
All
so
right.
Had the lockdown not happened, we may have missed many cases.
All right. So extremely important for the lockdown to have happened. But when it's lifted and what really are going to be the precautions in place once it's lifted is, of course, several questions that ought to be answered. Dr. Asirvatham, do you want to quickly take on the question of testing, that the first 8 days, 7 to 8 days, typically the antibody test does not, reveal results. It is only the swab test where you can actually diagnose it at an early stage.
So in the early stage, we try to identify the virus by doing a PCR, polymerase chain reaction. And this, when it is done with a pharyngeal or an oral swab as well as a nasal swab, we may be able to identify the organism. So even that is quite good for the diagnosis. To answer the second half of his question, keeping a person at home for 8 days, as you don't have any specific treatment, even if you are going to be in a hospital, you are not going to be connected to a ventilator or any particular wonder drug making drugs. So what is required from you is that if you are not really suffering from the disease, if you are taken to a hospital and probably you get in more contact with other patients, it is a little more difficult. So in that time, if you are keeping aloof, if you are not really suffering from this disease, maybe an ordinary, that will contain you, and the symptom also will settle on its own.
All right.
So
our
that
next
is one way of diagnosis.
All right. Our next caller, Maria from Srinagar, is on the line. Go ahead.
Hello, doctor. Good evening.
Yes, good evening, Maria. Go ahead.
मैम मेरा क्वेश्चन है, मेरी सिस्टर की ट्रैवल हिस्ट्री है फ्रॉम सऊदी अरेबिया.
Okay.
She has been quarantined for 14 days. Now she came back to home. But the thing is, क्या वो अपनी बेटी से, अपनी बच्चों से मिल सकती है? Is she all right now? कि हमें अभी भी कुछ टाइम और रुकना पड़ेगा?
All right, Dr. Asirvatham, do you want to take that on as well? Because you were just talking about that.
Translate it in English, that will be better.
Yes, so what she's essentially saying is that her sister returned from Saudi Arabia and has completed the 14-day quarantine. Is she now clear to meet with her children, to meet with other people if she's completed the 14-day quarantine?
If she has not developed any symptoms till now, probably she is not a carrier, because she has crossed the first 6 to 8 days where the symptoms start, and even after 2 weeks, if she is not symptomatic, it is very, very unlikely that she is a carrier. So probably she can go back to her usual things. However, for the safety, if she has already traveled in an area wherein there are a lot of suspects, probably she could take 1 more week as a prophylactic measure.
All right, so 14-day quarantine should clear you, but as a extra precautionary measure, you could take, another week of quarantine. But this also brings me to the question that I'd asked initially, which is asymptomatic carriers. Dr. Mishra, do you believe that that's the reason why we're seeing certain countries where the numbers have gone out of control, certain countries where the numbers have been contained? It's because asymptomatic carriers are perhaps more dangerous than those who exhibit symptoms can be easily identified and quarantined?
Definitely. If you look at the incubation period, it's ranged from 1 to 14 days, typically around 3 to 8 days. So people start spreading the disease. People who contain the virus in the phase, they start spreading the disease even much before that they become symptomatic.
Right.
And that's the most dangerous. It's unlike if you were hearing the experts from the US. So unlike other respiratory viral infection, people most of the time contagious when they are symptomatic too. But in this case of the COVID-19, they are spreading the infection when they are totally asymptomatic. Even the person is not aware that he is having the COVID-19 or the coronavirus.
So it's asymptomatic or pre-symptomatic carriers that also, one ought to be very careful of. Preetha from Bengaluru, our next caller, is on the phone line. Go ahead.
Hello, sir. My question was we have so many children whose boosters and vaccines are due, right? And in this present condition, we cannot take them to the hospital to get the vaccines done. So what is your advice, it's the parents whose vaccines are due, how long can we wait? Should we wait for the entire quarantine period or...
All right. Dr. Asirvatham, do you want to take that on?
Yes.
What do parents who have to take their children to hospitals for vaccinations do at this point?
Vaccination could wait for a week or 10 days because we really do not know how many people you are going to meet who are exposed to COVID. So instead of just protecting your child with a preventable entity like a chicken pox, you get into problems like a COVID. So maybe I would recommend to wait for situations to settle down and then probably you can go for vaccination.
All right. Muzaffar from Srinagar, our next caller, is on the phone line.
Yeah, hello.
Yes, go ahead.
Basically, I have two questions. One question is, if a COVID-infected mother... Hello?
Yes, go ahead and ask your question.
If a COVID-infected mother delivers a baby...
Okay.
And can we allow the baby to go on the breastfeeding? One question. Second question is that China has been the epicenter of this disease. But hello?
Yes, we can hear you, sir. Please complete your question.
China has been the epicenter of the disease, but the countries like America, UK, Germany, Spain, Italy have suffered a lot despite of the fact that they are less densely populated.
All right.
Their health care is much advanced, and they are more hygienic in nature.
All right.
Whereas less impact has been.
All right. We'll address the question, the second question later. But Dr. Mishra, do you want to take on the question on pregnancy and coronavirus?
Yes. So there have been case reports, approximately, I was going through an article, around 18 pregnancies with the COVID positive mother have had delivery. Those deliveries and those pregnancy were not complicated except for the premature deliveries were there. And there was no vertical transmission. Vertical transmission means the mother infecting the baby. So babies were negative with the coronavirus or the COVID, we can say. Also, the COVID secretion, virus secretion was not found in the amniotic fluid as well as the breast milk. So breast milk secretion of COVID is not been detected yet. That is one. The only thing is that mother can safely breastfeed the baby as of now with very little information, but only if all precautions are being taken of contacting the virus. So that is how right now is the information.
Dr. Asirvatham, do you want to take on the second aspect of that question, which is again, it originated in China, they've managed to contain it, but Europe, UK and USA have been a lot worse affected.
Yeah, in the developed world, we normally expect all these things to be much less. But in this situation, it is really a contradictory issue that we are being reasonably protected by the virus, but reasonably protected in our community when compared to the Western world. There is also a saying that BCG could have played a role. There is also another entity that non-malaria areas are being affected much more. So the strain of the virus which has reached India must be probably little less virulent when compared to the others. So
do you want to, doctor,
since you've
taken on, since you've mentioned BCG, do you also just want to apprise our viewers, about the BCG vaccine, when it's given, and how it has actually proven to be, to be successful in preventing people from getting the virus?
We don't have a definite evidence to say that BCG is going to prevent that. It is not so. But this is a population which has been exposed to BCG vaccine at birth. And the number two is that BCG has always been very useful in stimulating the immune system. Thereby, this particular problem could be responsible for the lesser incidence or probably lesser momentum of the disease.
All right. Anil from Gurugram, our next caller. Go ahead, Anil.
Yes, madam, my question is regarding mode of transmission of the virus by an infected person.
All right.
An infect.
Dr. Sunil Mishra, do you want to take that on? The mode of communication, what are the different means through which, the virus can be passed on from from an affected person to a healthy person?
Yeah. So the current mode of the transmission of the virus is the droplet infections. Those droplet infections, the respiratory secretion droplets, usually more than 5 micron in diameter. And when any person coughs and sneezes, so those droplets can travel up to a distance of 1 and 1.5 meters. And that's the reason we tell people to maintain a distance. So social distancing is meant by that. Apart from that, whenever any person coughs and sneezes, so usually we sneeze like this and we cough like this. So hands are soiled with the respiratory secretions. And when any person will shake hand and come into close contact with other person, the virus can transmit it. Apart from that, the virus also stays a good amount of the duration, from hours to the days, on objects, say from the cardboard to the steel and the railings, door handle. And if those been infected by the particularly one person with the COVID positive, so the person coming afterward can get the infection. We are still not clear about the airborne infection, but right now there is a principle of thought that everybody should do the masking, because the virus can still emit when person.
So that's in a certain sense how advisories have always evolved. Even in India, first masks were not compulsory, but now the health ministry, including the Prime Minister, has advised people to wear even cloth masks as a means of precaution. Dr. Shifat, yes, Dr. Shifat is on the phone line from Baramulla. Go ahead.
Yes, madam, my question is that our doctors are seeing patients, they are wearing PPE, how much it is safe, and what are the more precautions they should take?
All right, so we have a doctor actually asking, for an opinion on PPEs. Dr. Asirvatham, do you want to take that on? PPEs, how much do they help? What other precautions should you as doctors be taking at this time?
It depends on at what level you are meeting the patient. If you are on the front line, you should be very careful with all the precautions, and probably the entire suit should be completely able to prevent the infection from getting into you. But in case it is going to be a little not in the front line group, maybe a N95 mask and the proper washing of hands with the sanitizing of our hands and not touching the railings, this and that, that itself would be enough for a person who deals with a completely non-symptomatic patient who is not suspect of COVID.
All right, Dilkar from Noida, next caller, go ahead.
Is that this virus is transmitted through either eyes, nose or throat. So if it's transmitted, if this virus is transmitted through eyes, what are the symptoms? Whether the eyes will be affected or it will directly go to the throat?
All right, Dr. Mishra, questions on eyes, nose and throat. What happens if you contact the virus through your eyes?
So So actually virus is not transmitted by the eyes and nose. Actually the virus is a respiratory virus. So the people can catch the virus when they touch their nose, when they touch the face and the eyes also. So these are the mode of the entry of the virus to your body, right? So that's the reason we've been telling, and everybody, the government and all the organization telling people to face wash and hand wash are the two key things. And don't unnecessarily touch your eyes, nose and the mouth if your hands are still dirty and not clean. So these are the mode of the entry of the virus, not the exit of the virus, I would like to say.
All right, we had, of course, a doctor on the show, a doctor calling in earlier, who'd asked about precautions, and Dr. Asir Vatam, you'd answered his question. If I could just ask you, another follow-up question. At a time when we're talking about enhanced capacities to test, we're also talking about maximum safety and minimum contact. The drive-through testing facilities, a concept that's been inspired by Korea. How important is that? In safeguarding those at the front line, those coming in contact directly with the possibility of somebody being a COVID patient?
Yeah, as I told you, ideal situation would be a complete suit, but that is not feasible in a screening area. Like what you said is a Kishok and other areas. You can't put every person with completely protected. So what you could do, probably in an Indian scenario, we would like to modify it by probably having some goggles, some safe N95 mask, protected gloves, and the way of disposing the tissues or the drop of blood or the swab. Yes, or other material. Yes,
but do you then agree that mobile testing is very important? That drive-through testing facilities like one has seen in Korea, in I believe the first one in Delhi has been operationalized. That is key to minimizing contact.
As my colleague has already told you, moment you screen more number, it will appear that the disease is increasing. But still, once you are getting the plateau, that means you have achieved ideally identified person, then probably it will come down.
All right.
So to identify this type of screening has to be done.
All right. Mr. Parminder from Delhi is dialing in next. Go ahead, sir.
Hello. Yeah, my question is for, I want to ask Dr. Mishra. Doctor, being a diabetic, I am at a higher risk of getting this coronavirus, even if my glucose is well maintained, and what other precautions a diabetic person need to take?
All right, predisposed, with diabetes, Dr. Sunil Mishra, what are additional precautions that such patients can take?
Yeah. So regarding Mr. Parminder, one is that it's very good that his diabetes is well controlled. So having diabetes doesn't mean that you will get more risk of getting the COVID infection. The part is that once the COVID infection is there, the risk of complication, severe disease or the mortality is more in the people with the diabetes. So there are few risk factors. One is the age. For India, you can take 60 years.
Doctor, so what are some of the additional precautions they can take?
Yeah. So the one is that they should have a good diabetes control. Should start testing more once after the lockdown. Immediate sudden change in the lifestyle has happened.
All right.
They need to continue all the anti-diabetic drug as they've been doing earlier, and also there is no need to change the anti-hypertensive drug. Also, some putative risk of the getting more COVID infection with some of the anti-hypertensive been raised, but that has not been proven yet.
All right. We have Rupame from Kolkata and Nidhi from Thane, both on the phone line. Rupame, go ahead with your question first, please.
Hello, madam. I'm 48 years of age.
Yes, go ahead, sir.
I'm 48 years of age. I have diabetic and hypertension also.
All right.
Actually, I want to know the risk of my... hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
I have diabetic hypertension. My age is 48 years old.
Yes, so
I have diabetic and hypertension. I am 48 years of age. I want to know I am risky as good as 60 years of old.
All right. We also have Nidhi from Thane. Nidhi, would you ask your question as well, please?
Yeah, I have a very basic question wherein I just wish to know, we in Thane, we stay in a closed society. wherein the society has taken all the precautions that no kind of infected people are around.
Yes.
But still, there are many people who go out for their walks within the premises though.
Okay.
But is it still safe, or does there
All
still
right.
exist some kind of risk?
All right. So I think Dr. Mishra already took the question as far as the diabetes is concerned. But Dr. Asirvatham, if I could, briefly ask you to address contact. I mean,
Yes.
social distancing. But what about things like evening walks? They have been banned in certain parts. But is it safe to still go down for a stroll? Is it safe? Is it worth it?
For diabetic patients, I would recommend, as Dr. Mishra said, good glycemic control and frequent checking of blood sugar at home.
Okay.
This is very important to titrate the medications with the assistance from the medical personnel.
I'm afraid we're completely out of time, doctor. I have to very quickly ask you, is it safe to go down for a stroll, or should one avoid that as well?
No, I would not recommend. Probably you could
All
do a
right.
skipping at home or a treadmill at home.
All right. So stay at home, stay indoors. It's not worth it.
Yeah.
It's not worth it to go down even for that stroll. Exercise on a mat if you have to. Appreciate you, doctors. You've been very kind taking on all our questions. Thank you so much for joining us on the broadcast. With that, we're slipping into a very short break. News and updates continue on the other side. Stay tuned.